And to help us break down this trade from today, I'm going to bring in ABC10's Sean Cunningham here. So, Sean, Marvin Bagley got his wish. He is out of the capital city, but let's be real. I think everyone saw this happening.
Of course they did. I mean, look, I didn't know that there would be quite this big of a market for Marvin. I mean, to get 3 players in return, two of which are young, really nice, up-and-coming players. I mean, Donte DiVincenzo about to step into his prime. Josh Jackson, who's kind of stumbled around a little bit, and as a guy I was really, really high on. He played at Napa's Prolific Prep in high school, in the academy there before going to Kansas, and yeah, taken right before De'Aaron Fox there in the NBA draft in 2017, and I thought big things would be in store for him. I think that's a big pickup for Sacramento. Even though he's an expiring contract, Kevin, I think that he could be in the plans moving forward with this new look team. But yeah, the Marvin Bagley era is over. I think a lot of people are finally okay with that. Some of them who have been so frustrated with his injuries and some of the social media activity we've seen not only from him but his father as well, definitely kind of will be a refreshing breath of fresh air, at least for some people, but also, definitely for Marvin Bagley.
Yeah, I could say it's probably a happy divorce of some sort that we can say.
Yeah.
Real quick here with DiVincenzo coming here to Sacramento. We know that the Kings are loaded when it comes to their backcourt. As of now, you see the rotation with De'Aaron Fox, Davion Mitchell, adding somebody like that, a champion, by the way, and 2-time champion on the college level to bring. How do you see him meshing with everyone here?
Very well. I mean, this guy is in a very athletic 2-guard. And even though he is a playmaker in positionless basketball in the NBA these days, I think he'll fit in really nicely. This was a guy that they targeted when Bogdan Bogdanovic went out of town. As a restricted free agent, they tried to facilitate that sign-and trade with Milwaukee. It did not happen. It fell through because of some tampering charges with the Bucks. And, that was going to be Monte McNair's first trade as a Sacramento Kings general manager. It fell through. Bogey goes to the Bucks. We know what happened. The Kings didn't get anything in return. So if you're Monte McNair, you're probably stewing over this for the longest time. He finally gets his guy. He gets his guy in Donte DiVincenzo, and I think he's going to be really impressed with not only what he brings to the team. Granted, he is struggling to shoot the ball a little bit right now, but he was in a very talented, loaded Milwaukee Bucks championship caliber team. He comes to Sacramento, who have aspirations of not only getting to where the Bucks are, but certainly just punching through to the playoffs and possibly the play-in tournament. When you have guys around him to add that depth to the backcourt, I think it's going to bode well for Sacramento.
You mentioned Monte McNair there, and of course the job that he did in order to acquire DiVincenzo. Let's talk about some of the trade that he made happen on Wednesday, being able to bring Sabonis over to Sacramento and have him here. Obviously, we saw the results or the fruits of that in yesterday's game with the Kings winning that. But I'm just curious what you think about how is Sabonis, a former two-time All-Star, going to be able to play not just on the pick and roll with De'Aaron Fox, not just be such a facilitator assist-wise, but also defensively where he's lacking a little bit. How do you see him gelling with the rest of the squad?
Well, so far so good, right? I know it's only one game, so an entirely small sample size against that Timberwolves team. But, Kevin, for the first half of that game, they looked like the Harlem Globetrotters at times, throwing the ball over. We hadn't seen ball movement like that from a Sacramento Kings team. I was literally sitting there in disbelief for a moment at what this guy can do. Look, I'm a huge Sabonis fan. I was for the trade. I understand what he brings. It's a 2-time All-Star, like you said, Kevin. But you lost an elite playmaker in Tyrese Haliburton, this up-and-coming player who many won't project to be an All-Star. Maybe he is, and maybe he will be. But you've got Domantas Sabonis, who is a 2-time All-Star caliber player. Maybe he doesn't make another All-Star game ever in the Western Conference. That could be tough as a big. You're going to need success behind you if you're a Kings player making the All-Star team. But my goodness, Kevin, you have an elite playmaker in Domantas Sabonis. It's facilitating through the big. I know we've had, some people call out, this could be the Chris Webber type trade that the Kings did. I wouldn't go that far, but he does look like a lot like his father, a lot like Vlade Divac in his prime, a little bit more athletic, but a guy who's certainly a wizard with the basketball, and he does some incredible things. So, yeah, seeing it in that one game, I think it fits in well. I think some of these guys that they got today, Kevin, will fit even better. Now that we know that that these guys are here. Right? Like we were watching that Timberwolves game. We thought, well, Harrison Barnes may not be here after the trade deadline. Certain players like that. Now you still have that stretch 3 or stretch 4 who could play a 3 and D. Now that you have Trey Lyles in the mix, who can kind of stretch the floor as well as a power forward. I think there's a lot of options. Look, I'm not saying that they're going to be world beaters in the playoffs, Kevin, but I think it's going to be a nice close to the season, a competitive close to the season. They're certainly not going to be tanking. And I think it is changing the culture here. And I think what you saw last night is going to really make the most difference. And that's what De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox has a guy, he has the ball back in his hands again. He can facilitate Domantas Sabonis will be able to facilitate. It's no longer this head of the snake. It's now a two-headed monster with Domantas Sabonis being the best player. And I think it takes a ton of pressure off De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, and I like one of the things that I saw from this team yesterday. You saw everyone getting involved. Harrison Barnes goes out and gets 30. That's someone who I would like to see step up more offensively. He was earlier in the season, and then you kind of, he kind of took a break there offensively, but we know he can get buckets. De'Aaron Fox got his 27. But one thing that I'm really curious about, Richaun Holmes.
Yeah.
He was someone who we thought may be traded, maybe on the cusp. Now he's not. He's still here. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that he should have been out, but you wonder what it does to his confidence, his mental, knowing that now there's another big that the Kings got that's going to be taking a lot of those minutes and how he fits into everything.
Yeah, Domantas Sabonis was very lucky to play in Indiana with Miles Turner, a rim protector and a stretch four, a guy who really blossomed his game beyond the three-point line. And he did that in one player. Kevin, Kings don't have a rim protector that they can rely on like that. So I thought Richaun Holmes would become expendable. There was a lot of chatter that Richaun Holmes would be shipped to Charlotte. I know P.J. Washington was a person that they had their eye on as a mold to that Miles Turner kind of build. A rim protector, stretch the floor, and he's very young. So I think they liked him. A deal didn't get done. I was a little surprised. I thought that could happen. In fact, I thought it was going to be a Marvin Bagley, Richaun Holmes situation heading to Charlotte. And I didn't think it was close, but I thought there was so much chatter that something could come of that. But now you've got a very you've got a very energized Richaun Holmes who gets a little bit of pressure taken off of himself as well as someone who's really struggled this year. If he can get right, I think this will help. Look, we talked about it. He's the heart and soul of this Kings team, and he hasn't been right all season. So if he comes off the bench and he kind of adds that spark, I kind of like what that looks like. I don't know that we'll see him a lot with Domantas Sabonis. We sure didn't see that last night in the Timberwolves win, but I definitely see a role for Richaun Holmes now. We'll see what it looks like beyond going into the offseason. Maybe they move him then, but we've got a sample size now where for the rest of the season we get to see what that looks like, and hopefully it bears fruit for him.
Well, the Harlem Globetrotters, definitely a good comparison if you're going to talk about this new look. The last time I think the Kings could have been compared to the Harlem Globetrotters was back when Jason Williams played here. Yeah. And remember that trade for Bibby that a lot of people were like, oh, up in arms.
Yeah. You get a guy like Sabonis who can do some fancy passes, and
we saw that last night.
Sure did. It was impressive, and and he rebounds really well. I mean, the guy almost had a triple-double, and he was involved in every play, and I still think he struggled. I mean, the guy just got off an airplane the night before, didn't know if he was going to be able to play, comes out and warms up. He literally had an hour, him and Jeremy Lamb and Justin Holiday literally had about an hour's notice that they would be cleared to play. So, you can prepare all you want, but until you get the green light, you don't know if you're going to be able to.
That's true. Well, they definitely got the green light and took advantage of that. Real quick, Sean, before we get out of here, Monte McNair, all of these trades the last 48 hours, 72 hours, I guess. Do you think he did a great job, and is this team, in your eyes, headed in the right direction?
It's bold, right? I mean, it's bold. We talked about it on Tuesday, Kevin, when I mentioned that Monte McNair really traded his firstborn. When he traded Tyrese Halliburton, it was the guy he drafted first when he got here into Sacramento, and it took guts. It took guts to turn him as the only player you really valued among all the players that you let go. I mean, you look at the 6 players you're bringing in, and to really be the only one you were really all that beat up about was Tyrese Halliburton, and you're bringing in a 2-time All-Star like Sabonis. There's some good things. You finally get the guy you tried to trade for initially in Donte DiVincenzo. I think he's puffing his chest. It remains to be seen if it's going to work out. But in the now, the Kings got the better player the day of the Domantas Sabonis trade. I think they got the better player with Donte DiVincenzo today with the trade. I still think Marvin Bagley will be one hell of a player, and I think he could be a double-double machine. I think he's just had buzzard luck. He's a little soft. He's definitely had some injury troubles, and that can wear on someone. I never saw that coming out of Duke. So to say that I was wrong, I might be. I was definitely wrong with the way it looks in Sacramento and taking him over the likes of Trae Young and Luka Doncic. But I still think that Marvin Bagley will be one hell of a player. I think he's off to good things in Detroit, and I think Tyrese Halliburton, although I don't think he'll necessarily be an all-star, I think he's going to be great for the Pacers.
I 100% agree with you, except Marvin Bagley. I'm not sure how it's going to pan out for him in Detroit, but obviously we have well wishes for both of them, especially Tyrese Halliburton. All right, well, Monte McNair obviously making his claim before the trade deadline. Of course, we'll have more information on this if you look at the sports page of ABC10.com and on our YouTube page for Kings content you won't see anywhere else.